So this is the Protector iControl, the world's first internet-connected sump pump system. Along with the self-testing and notification features that the iControl has, it's the world's first system that you can remotely connect to from anywhere in the world. And remotely connecting to it doesn't just mean you can see some statistics perhaps. You can actually control the system as though you're standing right in front of it. Now, in order to make that happen, there's a couple settings that have to be done ahead of time, perhaps when you install it. And I'm just going to run through those briefly here. The first thing that has to happen is once you have the keypad connected to your router, the router has to give the keypad, the system, an IP address. Now, when the unit comes from the factory, it will be set to go, the first time it's powered up and it sees a Cat5 cable and recognizes that a DHCP router is going to give it an address. It asks for that address and it holds on to it. But I'm going to show you how to force that to happen just in case you're doing any sort of troubleshooting or you just need to know. So this is not in the manual because we don't typically want people doing this, but you take 1 and 4 and you press the buttons at the same time. And that'll cause a double beep. If you hear the double beep, you know you did it right. And then you can view the IP address and some other menu functions. So I'll press it now. There's your double beep. So now I can press IP right here and see what IP address the unit thinks it has. And there it was. It was 192.168.5.101, I believe. Now, if you know that's the wrong address and that's outside the range of addresses your router gives or whatever the case may be, you can force it to go get a new address. And to do that, and this is probably the most important thing if you're trying to set the system up initially. Go back into that 1.4, and then the password is 1234, and it'll do that triple beep. Now you can take your 4 button and toggle through some menu settings inside this kind of interior menu. You get to the menu or the item called Auto IP Address On. Now if you turn that, if you use your up and down arrows, you can turn that on or off. If you just turn it off and then turn it back on and then hit the escape, which is the silence button, you can see reset, reset. That means you successfully have told it to go request another address. Now it's probably going to be the same address, but that's how you would do it if you weren't convinced that the address it was showing is actually an address that your router gave it. We'll just go do that 1.4. We'll look at the IP, and sure enough, it is the same address still. And that's because I had a legitimate address in there already. All right, so we know our IP address is 192.168.5.101. So now with that knowledge, we're going to log into our router. Every router is different, so I can't tell you exactly how to do that. But in the router I've got this one connected to, you go to it's just a standard Linksys wireless N router, by the way. You go to the Applications and Gaming tab, and that's where the port forwarding feature is. So what port forwarding does is it says, okay, on this port, if somebody comes in on port 81, we want to create a rule here that traffic coming in on that port is going to get routed to that IP address. And you can see I've already put it in there. 5.101 is the address of our unit here. So now if somebody comes in from the internet using our router's external IP address, which this is the internal IP address, but if they came in using the external IP address with the proper port forwarding, the port number, the router will know to send that traffic directly to this unit. So it's not real difficult, and the setup of the router and everything, this can literally take 10 minutes if it goes smoothly. The messages that you get as alarms, whether it's email or text, when they're sent to you and you open them up in your phone or your computer or your iPad or whatever it might be, there's two addresses included in the message you receive. There's a local address, and you would click or touch that if you were within the house on the same router as your unit. It'll just locally route to the unit. And the other address is the remote address. The remote access address is for if you're anywhere else in the world. So the remote address is just automatically put into the message. You don't have to try to remember it. And that address gives you the access anytime from anywhere. So thank you. Watch our other videos about the Protector iControl. And if you get stuck, we can certainly try to help you over the phone. Thanks a lot.